Trails of Cold Steel 3 can now be ticked off. I finally caught up and played through the entire Trails series, and with each game I grew to love the series even more. This installment is a direct sequel to the first two Cold Steel games. So much happens in these two titles that it is completely necessary to play them before Cold Steel 3. Jumping straight into this one is like starting a TV series midway through the final season. Cold Steel 3 gave me exactly what I wanted. The incredible story, world building, excellent characters, fun gameplay, it's all here, and playing it is obviously a no-brainer if you're into the series. Before we get into the review, if you liked this video and the Trails series, it would help out a lot if you hit like and sub for more RPG and Trails content. I'll also have my spoiler-free Cold Steel 4 review out in a week's time, so stay tuned for that. Alright, let's get into it. Cold Steel 3 takes place 1.5 years after the events of Cold Steel 2. Because of this significant time jump, a lot has changed in both the state of the world and with the lives of Class 7. They've all moved on to bigger and better things. You once again play the role of Rean, but this time he's an instructor of the new Class 7 located at Thor's new branch campus. Because of this, the narrative progression works very similarly to Cold Steel 1 in that Rean and the new Class 7 will go on a bunch of field trips. Most of these trips that you go on are brand new locations that you haven't visited before, and I guess this is the benefit of Erebonia being so big. These field trips take a long time to get through. They each have several locations to explore with plenty of optional and compulsory quests to complete. A special mention also needs to go to the card game, which was awesome and it chewed up a lot of my time. Anyway, all of these lesser events at each field trip location slowly builds up to and concludes with a significant story event. As you would expect, Ouroboros are once again behind many of the conflicts, and many of the confrontations are just Ouroboros carrying out more experiments. Again, at least we finally get some answers towards the end of the game. I really do love the structure of these field trips and the surprise of finding out where the class is going next. However, I was disappointed to see that the destinations are actually spoiled from the start if you look for X camps on the main map. Now, one of my favourite field trips takes your class to Crossbell, and I have to make a special mention of this. Having just completed the Crossbell arc, Zero and Azure, I absolutely loved returning to Crossbell, seeing what changed over the years and exploring a large chunk of the state in 3D. This portion of the game also directly relates to the events of Zero and Azure, so if you haven't played these, you're missing out on a lot of the context, and your appreciation of the characters and events just won't be on the same level. At the end of the day, you know what to expect from the quality of storytelling. As with all of the Trails games, both the world building and main story is brilliant, and there are some awesome fist-pumping moments, particularly towards the end of the game. This game also ends on a massive cliffhanger, so bring on Cold Steel 4. Before we move on, I also want to make a mention of the voice acting. The actual quality of the voice acting is very good, but with this comes my #1 complaint about the game. What I mean is the lack of voice acting. Now I understand that there is an insane amount of dialogue, and for a game that isn't on a AAA budget, I don't expect every line to be voiced. My problem is that there are many scenes with a mix of voices and written text. There could be a hugely emotional moment with great voice acting and atmospheric music only to be ruined when one of the characters isn't voiced for the scene and all of the others are. It's basically like writing a review. I don't understand why they did this so often. The new cast from Class 7 are all very interesting and their depth and backstories rival that of the original Class 7. Some of the new students of Class 7 are Kurt of the Vander family, Yuna of the Crossbell Police Academy, and Altina, yep, the same Altina from the Intelligence Division. Having a new core cast to play as is also a great excuse to start them from low levels. They are new students after all. Unfortunately, Rean and Altina also start at the same low level as all of the other students, which makes absolutely no sense considering everything they went through in the first two games. There are some minor reasons as to why Rean isn't as strong, but this nowhere near justifies him being so weak. This really irritated me, especially considering that every other game in the series deals with this well. As expected, you also meet up with all of the old Class 7 members, and I found it very interesting to see what they've been up to since the end of Cold Steel 2. While the main focus is the new class, these oldies will still play an important role and will often be available as party members. To complement these new characters and those from past Cold Steel games, there are also a load of characters from other arcs, such as Tita and Agate from the Sky series and Randy from Zero and Azure. I know I've said it before, but I just love seeing my favourite characters from other arcs make an appearance here. Cold Steel 3's combat takes the core mechanics from the first two games and adds some new additions. These new additions are brilliant and add so much to the already awesome turn-based combat system, which I'm not going to go into as you should definitely have played Cold Steel 1 and 2 before this. The first new addition is the break mechanic. You'll notice that there is a new gauge below the enemy's health. Well, if you can deplete this gauge, the enemy will be broken, which puts them in a vulnerable state for a while. Some crafts will also be much more efficient at breaking the enemy, and characters can also be built as break specialists, which adds a whole new level of depth to this already awesome system. The other new addition is Brave Orders. At any time during the character's turn, an order can be activated using your Brave points. For instance, using Yuna's Sledgehammer order will increase break damage by 300% for 4 turns at the expense of 1 BP. There are a lot of different orders that will be available throughout the game, and deciding which ones to use and when requires a lot of thought. Brave Orders and the break system are brilliant additions, and I could not have asked for better enhancements to Cold Steel's combat. Now, a big issue that I had with Cold Steel 2 is that it didn't take long to make your party absolutely overpowered to the point that you could demolish anything in just a few turns. For the first half of the game, I thought that Cold Steel 3 addressed this issue. The boss battles were a great length and provided the perfect amount of challenge. However, it seemed almost instantly that this perfect difficulty level just vanished. In what felt like the snap of my fingers, I went from thoroughly enjoying my boss battles to wiping everyone out in an instant. For a large proportion of the game, it's almost like the developers didn't account for the fact that your characters get stronger. The mech battles also make a return, but this is more or less the same as Cold Steel 2. The only significant addition is that Reen and Valimar can fight next to 2 other machines. These battles are never very difficult, but they do serve their purpose, and unfortunately the upgrade mechanics here are as simple as they were in Cold Steel 2, where you can only equip 3 basic quartz to enhance your stats. Like the combat, the RPG growth mechanics also sees a significant addition that greatly enhances the options you have to build your characters. As you would expect, the Master Quartz are back, and these provide significant stat increases, a set of arts to use in battle, and 3 passive abilities. In addition to this, each character can also equip a Master Quartz in a new sub-slot. As well as providing lesser stat increases and access to arts, this sub-quartz will also provide the characters with the quartz's first passive ability. Due to the large variety of Master Quartz that you can obtain, there is a lot of awesome combinations, and mixing and matching these adds an entirely new level to building your characters. Cold Steel 3 has the best RPG growth mechanics of the entire series. Trails of Cold Steel 3 gave me exactly what I wanted. This game really highlights what makes the entire series so great. The epic story continues to build, and my favourite characters from all of the arcs are now coming together, and well, I just can't get enough of learning more and more about the world. Aside from the usual, Cold Steel 3's unique standout feature for me was the excellent new gameplay mechanics in the Brave Orders and the break systems, and also the addition of Sub-Master Quartz. While these are great, unfortunately the unbalanced combat difficulty does hold it back. My only other issue with the game is the inconsistent addition of voice acting. This makes many scenes far less impactful than they should be. Sky Trilogy, check. Crossbell Arc, check. Cold Steel 1 to 3, check. I am all ready and so excited to jump into Cold Steel 4, which releases in only a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for a spoiler-free review coming soon. What did you think of Cold Steel 3? Let me know in the comments. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this, hit like and sub for more RPG and Trails content. Also, come say hi on the socials. See you next time.